I look on this sheet and it talks about what we're going to fund. Those that have medical condition that run, there's no question. We need to, and I think maybe they transition into other programs that the state offers too that might be helpful in that case. Here's my issue, and I don't know where it's an issue or not. One, I don't know where we still are wards of the state once they get to this age where the state has a responsibility. But I have to share with you that I have a lot of students that are not foster students that are in families that fit the same situations when it comes to being raised by a grandmother, being raised by a single parent, that don't have help and guidance to get to the level that we're trying to get these. And I get that request in my office, and there's not much I can do for them. And I'm trying to separate these students from those students. And I'm just asking you, will these students continue to be wards of the state, and if we allow this to happen, or is this a new group of students that we're going to try to guide and manage after they reach a certain age to do certain things? Look, what you're trying to do is keep them in school and train them and do those things. That's all commendable. That's what we need to be doing. I'm just trying to separate. We're fixing to do something special for a group of students, and that's all fine and well. I'm just thinking that we're not doing something for students that's almost fit that, except they were not foster students. They just happen to fit basically the same type of predicaments that we're talking about here, and I'm not sure we offer that for them. So,
Senator Fannin, I would say that the biggest difference in the constituent calls that you get and in these youth is that the children, the people that call you, they have a family. These kids don't. So they don't have a grandparent or a birth parent or an aunt or an uncle who are taking care of them. What this program does is give us a little more time to work with them to try to find permanent connections or get them to a place where they are okay financially and emotionally and educationally to be able to stand on their own. I don't think that anybody at 21 or 18 or 17 is able to stand on their own.
We're talking about kids who don't have a home, not really a permanent home, and trying to make sure that we're establishing that structure so that they can have some level of stability, so that they can be productive members of society. Because guess what? If we don't help to try to invest in these young people now, we're going to end up paying for it later.
I wouldn't want these comments right now. It sounds like that we're not giving foster parents any credit. Let me tell you, we got some excellent foster parents.
Oh, I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination.
To say that they have no family, we got foster parents that's doing a super job out here. Yeah. So I want them. I wasn't going to say anything else, but I didn't want it to leave here.
No, you're right. There are some foster families. Yeah. If it wasn't for them, these young people will be in such bad shape because they've been able to go back. They've been there support system, but then all of them have not. Okay. And so, for some foster families, when they turn 18, then that was it. But then there are a lot of excellent foster families who have been there, have stayed the course, and guess what? They may be 40 years old, just like our children, and they're still going back to that foster family for help and support. That's the big difference here, and that is really, truly the difference, because our children still come back to us. These children, some of them did not have that. It wasn't their fault. They didn't ask for this, and they are making the best that they can out of the situation, and there are people who have stepped up to assist them, but in some cases, there's nobody.
I'm the numbers person. I'm with Senator Fannin. We like to ask about the numbers. I'm trying to get some confidence again around the numbers. And how do we know that you're not going to come back next year and instead of it being a $1 million program, now it's a $3 million program or something, and you have way more students than you expected? I'm trying to get some confidence in the forecast in the terms of the number of students, and I would hope that there would be some experience in some programs in other states that would help inform your model.
So we were very fortunate. We didn't mention that last year we passed a study resolution to look at raising the age that was chaired by Senator Barrow and I. We co-chaired this year-long, very intense work with the Annie E. Casey Foundation. And most of you know that the Casey Foundation is one of the only foundations that works in child welfare across the nation, philanthropic organization. They helped us do the financial modeling for this program, and they took the statistical data that we have from across the nation to look at what percentage of the kids this has done in other states, and they did all the forecasting on that, because it does go down instead of up. Because as they get that high school diploma and get set into a college path or a work path, they drop out of the program. They feel comfortable. When we came into office 3 years ago, our child welfare staff made a commitment that we didn't want any kid to age out of foster care at 18. We knew that we couldn't get there 100%, but every staff member signed a pledge that we were going to do everything we could to make sure that we found a permanent connection for every child in our care before the age of 18. And last year, we got 90%. So that is a huge compliment and accomplishment for this organization, because first of all, we'd never done anything like that. And so under the guidance of Dr. Renda Hodnett, who runs our child welfare program, I think that was just a phenomenal thing. And so what it also does is it gives more of these 150 that could be leaving us at least somebody to go back to, whether they're adopted or it's a legal guardianship or it's a foster home forever or whatever. It gives them a contact. And as we have lived through that experience, we're seeing those bonds grow deeper and richer and more supportive, and so the kids aren't needing as much. So when we decided to do this, we looked at slicing this in. Do we only take the kids that'll be 19 going forward? Do we go back and take the kids from last year? Do we give them this? And we decided if we were going to do it, we were going to do it for everybody. So in that 3-year period, that we wanted to be sure we covered you, because we really felt like this needed to be for all our youth that we had touched. So it is, we're being extremely conservative with these numbers. We started with a fiscal note close to doubling this, and we kept winnowing down and looking at the numbers and looking at exactly how many kids we have, how many can we project, where do we know who has a home, who doesn't. And so this is where we settled with the help of the Annie Casey Foundation doing this fiscal forecasting and the help of Youth Villages giving us the $1 million grant that they have given us for the next 3 years. And so we really feel like this is a sound number. Quite frankly, if I had to come back next year for more money, I wouldn't count that as a bad thing. I would say that we were doing really good work, but I really don't think that's going to happen, because I think we've run these numbers a million different ways, and we've worked with the fiscal office, and they're confident in this budget, and so that's where we settled.
One thing I know that you will certainly appreciate about this is the science and that has gone behind this, and that there are best practices that can actually prove and show that this worked. What I will say to you, that if we do nothing, if we don't make this investment, these numbers that you're seeing to the left-hand column here, where you see the number of young women who age out without any assistance, 71% of them are pregnant by the age of 21. It begins this cycle all over again. And so this is one way, to me, of really begin to mitigate and stopping that and preparing a better pathway for these young people.
And I certainly can appreciate that, Senator. And I know Dr. Walters and I talked about this is an evidence-based program, which I love. And so it has a proven track record, and you'll have people with you. They're trying to make sure that you're honoring the provisions of that program to keep it evidence-based.
Members, every time that I've ever come before you in this committee, I think I've talked about the loss of staff that this agency has suffered. We are 500 people short in child welfare. That's just child welfare. That's not our whole department. this is a new body of work for us, so we have to have new personnel to do it. We cannot just absorb this with the staff that we have. We are working diligently every single day trying to stabilize our workforce and stop our turnover. We have cut our turnover in half in child welfare in the 3 years that we've been here, and we're very, very proud of that. So we are hoping that by building these specialties of staff that are now, when they get this Youth Villages training and they have specialized caseload and they have created a specialty of working with older youth, that they will be proud of that specialty and honor that and stay with us.
Sure.
And that we as a state will figure out a way to fund that and continue that in our budget.
Well, I look forward next year to hearing all of your success stories.
Thank you.
We got to find the money, and we're going to look for it. I know it's not in the budget right now, but we're going to look for it as that budget comes over here.
Thank you. And I am working with Representative Henry to look at how we can find this money, because this honestly is not. This is a very small amount of money in the grand scheme of our budget. This is small, but it's going to make a huge impact, and it's going to change the lives of so many. And I think we should feel compelled to make sure that this happens, each one of us, because we understand the importance of the transition that young people make from young adulthood to becoming adults, and they need that extra support. And so I know how you feel. I definitely know how you feel, as well as many of the members on this committee. But I am going to be working with Representative Henry to help find this money, and with the president as he's come in.
Madam Secretary, I know that we've had some, or your department's had some great success with foster care adoptions.
Yes, sir.
I think you set another state record last year,
912.
912, okay.
912.
I keep telling people 913, so I'm off one. But I know a year prior to that, it was in the 800s or 700s.
777.
Right, and then so it's
like
increased every year. But I know part of that, and I know you have done a lot of work through the grant from the Dave Thomas Foundation.
Yes.
That's another grant that has not been mentioned
Yes,
in this committee hearing today. And I was in a room a few weeks ago when the renewal of that grant was announced. So y'all going to continue to work towards, and you're taking children out of the foster care system and putting them into permanent homes.
Yes, sir. We
So
are.
they're out of the system. So
this department has worked really hard to find outside funding, to find foundations that will come and partner with us, and we actually have several. We have the Dave Thomas Foundation, which is the Wendy's Wonderful Kids. They actually pay for a recruiter in every region of our state to find foster homes for special kids. Then we have this YV Life Set. We have the Casey Family Program and Annie E. Casey both. And then we have one of only 5 national federally funded workforce grants.
Right.
So we've done everything we can get our hands on to bring additional resources and funding into this state to help this population.
And not every one of those adoptions is a baby. I mean, you're talking about teenagers. You're talking about older. I mean, I've met some of these foster, these young people who were in foster care and who were adopted at age 18, 19, 20 years old sometimes. So so what y'all are doing, you are taking kids out of the system and putting them into foster care, and I think that helps these numbers tremendously. So
Absolutely.
I think I know where this bill may be going today, but we're going to work diligently to find this money and try to get this moving. So
thank you, Senator.
Senator Barr, let's go quickly to your next bill. You have a second bill here today, right? Can we do that one? The bill, the one. Look, we funded this thing last year. We said we'd never take anything out of the stack. Well, we proved ourselves that we could take them out of the stack. We did that last year, and I anticipate that will happen this year. I know that the House is already funding things that we've talked about. So. For the moment, we'll just put it off to the side until we get the budget bill next week, but we will come back to it. I feel certain of it.